It's that time of the year for Faye's Fallen Hero banner. For year 7, we have Fallen Alts for Maria, Byleth, and a Rearmed Chrom. Making their debut will be Anankos. Today we'll be talking about our new hero's stats and skills, plus discuss general playstyle and builds. By the way, as is the norm, there is no 4-star focus unit. First up, Fallen Maria will be our third super beefed up summonable healer for year 7. She is an infantry healer with 37 HP, 44 attack, 45 speed, 16 defense, and 35 resistance. Not as high base attack as Little Lucius or Cornelia, but by far the fastest infantry healer. Maria will have a speed super boon as well. Her physical bulk is atrocious, so keep her protected, and Maria might be able to take a magical hit or two. For old skills, Maria is going to come with Nudge Plus as her healing assist. She then brings the damage with Attack and Speed Unity and Poetic Justice, which is the Dazzling Staff 4 skill. For some side healing, she also has Even Recovery. Now, Maria's Sacrifice Staff is going to cause some headaches, and would not surprise me if you start seeing her pop up because of it. This 14-Might Staff has built-in Dazzling Staff and Accelerated Specials. If Maria initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, she gets +5 to all stats and no guard. For support, Maria grants +4 to all stats during combat and a new status, which is basically Miracle with a full heal after it procs. This applies to allies within 2 spaces. It works once per map, but does have a couple conditions you should know about. First up, some people thought Sacrifice Staff would not work for the enemy AI. You can test it out in the story maps, it definitely does. Second, if multiple Fallen Marias are in range to revive an ally, then both of their miracles will be consumed. However, from the sound of things, you actually get 1 miracle revive per Fallen Maria on the team if their effects do not occur at the same time. Still need some clarification on that, but that would mean you can bring multiple Marias and get multiple revives, it just can't be overlapping. If you played Engage with the DLC, it's like we got Emblem Tiki in the game. Full on miracle plus full heal, similar to Legendary Fae, means Maria can turn any ally into a multi-phase boss fight. If this starts to become a major issue in PvP modes, time to start investing in Colorless Feud. Now on the personal combat side, Maria is equipped to run the new offensive specials. Sling plus no guard is very nice. She also has Dazzling Staff to go with Poetic Justice to stay safe and deal full damage. Maria will also bring a third offensive healer special with her called Holy Panic. When special triggers, boost damage by 25% of the foe's res stat. After combat, inflict -6 attack and speed, and the panic status on the target and foes within 2 spaces. This is the second 2 cooldown special and basically inflicts a mix of attack, speed, and panic smoke debuffs. For inheriting, Fallen Maria is going to have the 2 cooldown Holy Panic with Poetic Justice. Ascended Ilincia has the 2 cooldown Light's Restraint with Dazzling Shift. Keep that in mind if your healer wants Dazzling or Wrathful Staff in that B slot. In terms of playstyle, Fallen Maria is by far the best offensive infantry healer if you want to double and proc those new offensive specials. Any double by Maria guarantees Holy Panic procs thanks to Sling and no guard. Her main issue compared to the other year 7 5-star healers is that Maria doesn't have a way to bypass follow-up denial. Luckily, she can run no follow-up if you really want to double. Ideally, you should probably save that for an actual combat unit. If Maria only hits once, you could run Times Pulse and that will pre-charge Holy Panic. You'll at least proc it every single fight. While Attack and Speed Unity is fine, if you want max damage output, Attack and Speed Finish 4 is probably better. Now Maria might struggle to get kills if you don't bring no follow-up in some capacity, but her main selling point is definitely the Miracle plus Revive aura around her. She also grants plus for Omni Drive, which is nice. You could run more in combat buffs in the C slot and Sacred to the stack up. If you want to be annoying, then the Miracle effect would be nicely paired with something like Contour Control to control that retreat option for the enemy. It's not the best, but you could also build into a res support build. 35 base res is okay if you want to run something like the new Sabotage Attack and Res. Losing Poetic Justice though will kill off any kill potential, but if you just want to turtle with the Revive for allies, then maybe it's fine for you. Fallen Maria can be a fine colorless magic damage dealer though, but her support ability is going to be very annoying to face. If you can't get to her first, then you have to kill one of her teammates twice, and that is probably going to be some annoying Savior Armor unit. Unless we get more feud type abilities like from Embla, and it's pretty tough to get around Sacrifice Staff. Moving on, we have a newcomer to Fae with Fallen Anankos. He will be a blue armored dragon, 42 HP, 43 attack, 44 speed, 36 defense, and 31 res. Anankos has a speed super boon and is similar to Rearmed Chrom. As a speedy armored dragon, he will take more damage compared to beefed up min-max tanks, but hopefully his speed can overpower enemies. For old skills, you got Noontime, Kestrel Stance 3, and attack and speed near save. Just like Chrom, Anankos is going for that fast near save playstyle. Silent Breath is a 16 by Dragonstone that excites specials. If the foe initiates combat or has more than 75% HP, Anankos gets plus 5 to all stats and inflicts debuffs based on the current bonus on each of the foe's stats, times 2. He also deals true damage on hit equal to 20% speed and reduces damage from the foe's first attacks by a flat 7. For the most part, nothing too crazy here. Anankos' debuffs are the in-combat panic effect. If the foe were to have plus 6 attack as a field buff, he inflicts minus 12 in combat to cancel out the buff. As for his flat 7 DR, this comes from a new condition. It states it affects first attacks with an S, and this differs from first hit DR effects because it works on both hits of brave attacks. That's something we may start to see more of in the future. Speaking of which, Anankos brings Savvy Fighter 4 with him. If foe initiates combat, inflict minus 4 attack and speed on the enemy, grant full no follow-up effects, and if the user has more speed than the foe's speed minus 10, then reduce damage from first attacks by 40% during combat. For its tier 4 upgrade, Savvy Fighter adds attack and speed debuffs, and its speed check is even easier to meet. The damage reduction increased to 40%, and it comes with the same first attacks with an S condition that Silent Breath has. Unfortunately, they did not write the S in the description. I hope that's a typo because they wrote the exact same qualifier as Silent Breath. Either way, Savvy Fighter is still enemy phase only and is clearly for fast armor units. With attack and speed near save, you get minus 8 attack and speed debuffs, which is pretty annoying to face. In terms of playstyles, Anankos is a pretty basic speedy near save armor unit. Anankos will combine 40% DR with flat 7 DR, and you get minus 8 attack and speed debuffs. He also has in combat panic. Ideally, Anankos jumps in to save teammates, he takes the first hit or 2 hits for brave attacks, and then he returns fire, hopefully with a follow-up attack of his own. Noontime is there for healing, but you could go for a damage special, maybe run Darting Breath with Soul for more health. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. Nothing super complex going on here. Anankos is just going to stat check attackers, and if he outspeeds, then he's good. I do think he is susceptible to pre-charge specials because those can pierce Savvy Fighter, and if that happens, then he isn't the most tanky army unit due to focusing on speed. The new Scowl A skills for dragons would actually be really good, but that requires a res check, and Anankos doesn't exactly have the highest starting base resistance. If you want to run it with Savvy Fighter, you then have to focus on 2 stats for checks and probably sacrifice damage. If this sounds unfeasible, then you could copy Rearmed Chrom and try to run Hardy Fighter for unpierceable DR from the defensive special. Anankos can run Pavis, but you're going to need Darting Breath to recharge it. On the topic of Armored Beacon, it can work, but Anankos isn't exactly stacking huge defense. The DR effect is ranged only, but at least dragons have adaptive damage and the distant counter Sacred Seal if you really just wanted far save. As a fun mention, if you have Armor March support, then you could go for a fun, speedy unit that can play on either phase. Sadly, Savvy Fighter is enemy phase only. You're going to have to swap to Special Fighter for mixed phase builds. It's not bad in general, but you'll lose 40% DR and no follow-up. Overall, I'm not feeling like Anankos is super crazy from an initial look over. He will be annoying for sure, but he can't really deal with nuking units who pierce damage reduction unless you somehow get Scowl to work. Honestly, I feel like Scowl is going to be a very strong skill for any future dragon builds just because of the power specials and the prevalence of things like Special Sprout 4's DR piercing ability. Moving on, Fallen Byleth did not seem to get the memo that she was to bring a purple aura with her. For those who did not play 3 Hopes, basically instead of disappearing when Byleth goes Super Saiyan, Sothis actually takes over their body. That's why this ult has Sothis' voice. In a funny turn of events, Brave Byleth is wearing Sothis' outfit, and now Fallen Byleth will actually kind of copy that same playstyle, but as an infantry sword unit. She has 40 HP, 44 attack, 47 speed, 32 defense, and 25 resistance. With 47 base speed and super boon, I believe that does make Fallen Byleth the fastest sword infantry in the game stat-wise. We'll see how long that lasts for. For old skills, Byleth has Close Call 4 and Times Pulse 4. Times Pulse is going to be vital to her kit because she still gets Divine Pulse as her special. That boosts damage based on speed, but more importantly, it gives 75% damage reduction for the next attack Byleth takes, and her next attack gains extra damage as well. Because 3 helps Byleth does not have the Sword of the Creator, she has the Captain's Sword. This weapon has 16 might and accelerated specials. It also comes with the Super Obstruct Bulwark effect. Outside of combat, if Byleth has 125% HP, grant +5 to all stats, neutralize the foe's field buffs, restore 7 HP after combat, and if Byleth outspeeds, she gets Vantage. If you remember Brave Byleth's kit, her playstyle revolves around Speed Preempt, granting Vantage, which allows Divine Pulse to trigger first, which gives Byleth 75% damage reduction that is unpierceable. She can do the same thing here, except Fallen Byleth gets Vantage against all enemy types, not just ranged. One issue with Brave Byleth is lack of sustain, so that's why Fallen Byleth has some sustain built in. The Bulwark effect is interesting and lets Byleth's frontline for her team. To go with her Ashen Demon nickname, Byleth has distant attacking speed solo. They were already a one-man army without turning into Super Saiyan, but Byleth's gonna get back distant counter. If they are solo, they also get +5 attacking speed in combat. Distant attacking speed solo is a new distant counter skill and will require base DC to inherit. Unlike foil or ward skills, the stat boost works against any enemy type, and unlike some distant or close counter variants, this one doesn't have recoil damage or works on the enemy phase only. The DC effect can work next to allies, but if you want those juicy stats, you gotta be alone. Generally speaking, Fallen Byleth really just copies Brave Byleth's playstyle. Brave Byleth has times pulse 4 built into their weapon, while Fallen Byleth gets Vantage in their weapon. You do kinda need times pulse 4 to always have Divine Pulse active. Byleth should outspeed, Vantage procs with Divine Pulse, and that gets Byleth 75% DR plus another potential 50% with Close Call 4. This will stack for 87% damage reduction. If Byleth doubles, she can proc another Divine Pulse. After combat, you get 7 HP healing, and times pulse keeps DP charged for another Vantage proc. If you forgo distant counter capabilities, Byleth can run attacking speed finish 4, +5 true damage with 7 HP healing on hit for more sustain. I think that would be quite good. For Sacred Seals, another Sword Master who doesn't have no follow-up in their kit, but they do want it in some way. The issue for Byleth is having enough speed for Vantage. If she can't proc that, you get no damage reduction. For B skills, I would say Close Call's actually pretty good and interesting when attacking due to Bulwark. Arguably, we're not getting the most from more % DR stacking at this point, but it does grant speed debuffs and the Phantom Speed effect, which should affect Captain's Sword. Personally, if Velocity were to get a tier 4 upgrade, I would go with that to get no guard. Byleth would have a chance for double Divine Pulse procs, since she always goes first with Vantage. Overall, not too much deviation from Brave Byleth, but Fallen Byleth can fight anyone with distant counter, and she has more natural sustain built in, even in more so if you're going to go for finish 4. Sustain was my main concern for Brave Byleth, since 75% DR can only do so much when you aren't stacking defensive res. Something that Fallen Byleth also can't deal with though is Hardy Bearing. If there is no Vantage Divine Pulse proc, you only have Close Call 4 as DR, which is pierceable. A special Spiral 4 user with Hardy Bearing will just rip right through Byleth, no problem. Do be wary of that. Last unit for today is Rearmed Chrom. The Risen King will be a Sword Cavalier once again with 41 HP, 45 attack, 46 speed, 29 defense, and 18 resistance. He has an attack super boon, and like young Eliwood, Rearmed Chrom is just a very offensive Cavalier. He doesn't have as many defensive tools, especially against magic damage, but Chrom can get around quick and hit very hard. For old skills, Chrom has Gale Force with attacking speed clash 4 to move around a lot. He will also have infantry speed tactic once again. Maybe deep down he's still a good dude. Now, Rearmed Chrom will bring the Arcane Devour Sword, 60 might, accelerated specials, and if the user has more than 25% HP, grant +5 to all stats, grant Breath type cooldown reduction, reduce the first hit by 40%, and if you outspeed, you get full no follow-up effects. If you gave the Petalfall Blade to your fast sword users, then this is a direct upgrade. The second Arcane Sword, similar to the second Arcane Lance, will be for the speedsters. Arcane Devour is a fantastic weapon. Slaying plus Breath type cooldown is amazing, especially for Cavs and Flyers. No follow-up is also great for those classes who can't normally access it. With this sword, you can forgo flow B skills and just run near Trace Kanto. For the fast flyers, this would be quite a weapon with the new Guard Bearing 4. Just to be clear, the 40% DR is one hit only, it's not like Anankos' kit. Now Arcane Devour will be an extremely popular weapon for all the wannabe sword masters out there. This thing is perfect for Vital Astra and Godlike Reflexes builds. You even get % DR to stack with dodge skills if you want. For times Pulse Vital Astro builds, you can get double procs going into guard effects as well. Now for his unique skill, Rearmed Chrom gets another version of the Change Fate. Fate Unchanged has 4 parts, the first 3 being how to change fate functions. It's a reposition skill that grants Chrom another action, and it self-inflicts isolation as a slight balancing aspect. The new part for Rearmed Chrom is that it inflicts exposure on the nearest foes within 4 spaces of Chrom and his ally, plus it spreads to foes within 2 spaces of those guys if they have a savior skill. Very interesting that this skill singles out armored saviors, but it makes sense. Exposure is a status that grants 10 true damage on hit to attacker, so Chrom and his entire team benefit from extra damage. If the nearest foe has a savior buddy, then they also get hit by exposure. That's not all though, because Chrom is bringing us the tier 4 snag skills. Speed and Defense Snag 4 inflicts -4 speed and defense debuffs in combat. If a movement assist skill is used by unit or target's unit, inflict -7 speed and defense and the sabotage status on the nearest foe within 4 spaces of both unit and ally. Snag 4's debuffs also spread to nearby savior units. It's still decently new, so as a refresher, the sabotage status basically doubles the effectiveness of the main debuff on an enemy, and it takes into account debuffs on anyone within 2 spaces. From this skill alone, you inflict -7 speed and defense, and sabotage doubles that into -14. It also has the constant -4, so in total, -18 speed and defense. Mr. Chrom tacks on exposure, so this is almost 30 extra damage for Chrom and company in a single hit. Obviously, the guy who gets that move again can run Snag 4 very well, but is this upgrade enough to entice other Cavs and Flyers to finally run Snag B skills? That pretty much depends on if you are using movement assist skills to either set up attacks or to protect allies while advancing. If you are smiting people forward, then you can give them an extra -14 speed and defense if the foe doesn't neutralize debuffs. That's not bad. If you need to deal with heavy stat swings, then it may be worth using, and remember, sabotage affects all 4 stats, so bring your attack and res debuffers as well. For the most part, Rearmed Chrom is a pretty simple offensive cavalier, very high attack and speed, and his sword gives slaying plus breath type cooldown, 40% DR, and full no follow-up to deal with slower enemies. Chrom should be using Fate Unchanged to first trigger exposure and speed and defense snag, then he attacks the targets hit by those debuffs. If they have savior backup, those debuffs will affect them as well. You then got Gale Force, which can proc in 2 actions, and Infantry Speed Tactic is for your speedy infantry teams. One thing Chrom would like is Kanto for extra mobility, especially if you don't want to run Gale Force. Luckily, the new Alarm attack speed does just that from the C slot. We haven't discussed it since, but Alarm is melee cavalry only. It would be a very solid C skill for Rearmed Chrom. If you use Gale Force to move around though, then Speed Smoke 4 can grant dodge DR and to help with speed checks. If you wanted healing, then Surge Sparrow is great with Arcane Devour's cooldown, although Chrom could hit a pretty fast signature Aether as well. In the Seal slot, one nice effect to have would be Guard to avoid any instant special counters. For the most part, that's about it. Arcane Devourer eases any special cooldown issues, and you could still use Near Trace if you want consistent Kanto. Since he has no follow-up, you could run Wind or Water Sweep. Chrom can get off 2 safe hits, and then retreat with Gale Force. I'm still waiting for tier 4 low B skills to happen. Those used to be the main cavalry options for quite a while. Now regarding skill inheritance, it's technically possible to grab 4 main skills off of Chrom if you have a Cavalier or Flyer. Speed and Defense Snag 3 is on Kent or Dean, Speed Tactic is on Dwyer or Nier's Heir, Attack and Speed Clash 3 is on Nier's Pan. That is the toughest one to get. If you're an infantry unit, unfortunately you're gonna get the Arcane Devourer, and that's it unless you give Chrom something else. I guess you could take Gale Force as well. That'll be it for this banner breakdown. Just a reminder, Fallen Heroes are considered new heroes. They are not seasonal except for Rearmed Chrom, who's gonna go join the other Rearmed Heroes in Limbo. Food for thought, I don't believe anyone got banned from the random enemy list this year. Technically Chrom did, but all Rearmed Heroes do not show up as random enemies. Now, coming up next is Fallen Linus, another Heroic Grail repeat, but this dude gets another unique weapon for his troubles. We'll talk about him more in the next video. That's all I got for now. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.